Yes, good afternoon people. Another quick video. Today we're diving into Donald Trump's plan to bring the war in Ukraine to an end. As US and Russian officials prepare to meet in Saudi Arabia, tensions are running high. A Russian envoy has made it clear the EU and the UK are not welcome at the negotiating table, citing their hostile stance throughout the conflict. What could this mean for the future of peace talks? Let's break it down. But before I get into it, hit the like button, share, comment and subscribe. It really helps my channel grow. US President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin held a 90-minute phone call in a bid to end the war in Ukraine. Donald Trump has announced that peace talks with Russia will begin immediately, while his defense chief cautioned that Ukraine's original peace goals are unlikely to be met. As officials from the US and Russia prepare to meet in Saudi Arabia to negotiate the terms of a potential peace deal, what's particularly telling is that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky wasn't invited. The implication is clear. The territory seized by Russia won't be returned, and Ukraine's hopes of joining NATO appear to have been firmly sidelined. In my view, and it's only my view, this war should have ended long ago. And it's likely it would have if former UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson hadn't derailed the peace deal in April 2022. Some might label me a Putin apologist. But what does that make Donald Trump? Is Donald Trump one too? Simply for wanting to end the war? It's a baseless accusation. I call it as I see it, and so does Donald Trump. And from day one, it was clear that Ukraine stood no chance of defeating Russia militarily. The collective West has sacrificed over 1 million Ukrainian lives. For what? Was it trying to weaken Russia? If anything, it's had the opposite effect, leaving Russia stronger than before. And yet, some Western countries like the UK, France and Germany still want to press on with this war. But they're standing alone now because Donald Trump has made it clear enough is enough. Meanwhile, Zelensky seems to have taken on the role of mind reader, warning European leaders that if the US pulls its support from NATO, he's 100% sure Putin will move to occupy Europe. Really? Mate, the 100% he's talking about must be the Bolivian flake he's been sniffing. Real talk. It's a bold prediction, but it clearly plays into the growing anxiety among European leaders about their reliance on American military power. Whether this warning is based on solid intelligence or an attempt to keep Western support flowing, it certainly fueled the already heated debate over Europe's defence strategy. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky appears to be trying to rally European leaders into maintaining their unwavering support for Ukraine, despite billions already spent on the war effort. But his efforts seems to have paid off, with UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer declaring at a hastily arranged summit in Paris that Britain is prepared to deploy troops in Ukraine as part of a peacekeeping mission, even though that idea was met with less enthusiasm by European leaders. Keir Starmer also acknowledged the pivotal role of the United States, suggesting only Washington and President Donald Trump as the influence to prevent a renewed Russian offensive. In response to growing concerns over Europe's defence capability, he urged European countries to step up their military spending. While the UK currently allocates 2% of its GDP to defence, military officials warned that this level of investment is nowhere near sufficient to meet the escalating threat. I don't claim to be a military expert, but it's remarkable how convinced Western leaders seem to be that Putin's ultimate goal is to conquer Europe. It's almost as if they are all reading from the same script. Or are they reading his mind? What this really reveals is the growing sense of fear within the collective West. With Donald Trump signalling a potential pullback of US support for EU and NATO, it's becoming clear just how heavily these alliances rely on American military power. Without the might of the United States, Europe's defensive posture looks increasingly fragile. And I'll end with this. Donald Trump has stepped in, positioned himself as the one trying to end the nearly 3-year war between Russia and Ukraine. A conflict that has claimed over 1 million lives on both sides. Yet throughout this time, leaders like Joe Biden, Boris Johnson, Liz Truss briefly, Rishi Sunak, and now Keir Starmer have made no real effort to negotiate a ceasefire with Putin, despite knowing that Ukraine is fighting an unwinnable war. Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems like Germany, the UK, and France were content to let this war drag on, even as Ukraine continued to lose men and territory. Now it appears these same leaders are frustrated with Trump for seeking a diplomatic approach which they view as appeasing Putin. As for the UK's plan to deploy a peacekeeping force in Ukraine, regardless of any potential deal, it's hard to imagine Putin standing by and allowing that. Keir Starmer's position is a contradictory one. On one hand, he wants the US to security guarantees, and on the other hand, he talks about putting British boots on the ground. So here it is. So he wants UK troops involved, but only with America military protection. How does that even make sense? Thanks for watching, people. Share, comment, like, and subscribe. And until the next one, out of here.